going on, dudes and dudettes? So yes, quick update on yesterday's Duke game. Yes, they did advance. I think they might be playing Tennessee next. Pretty sure Tennessee won. That should be a good game tomorrow. USC is playing right now. They got the first game, and as I'm looking off screen, looks like they're losing by 7 points. Just turned the ball over, and yeah, gave up a dunk. And so now they're losing by 9. The game was tied at halftime, like around 34 all. Then it was still at 38 all after, halftime. But then now Michigan State has gone on a little bit of a run, which is it's much expected because they are technically the better team. And USC at times, I thought they were just going to get blown out already in the first half because of how they were playing and being a bit too passive or too aggressive at times. And then they were able to get back into it. But yeah, right now it does suck too, because even though Michigan State is a 7th seed, they still kind of have the home field advantage because they're playing in Ohio, which is obviously not Michigan, but it's still pretty close. And people can travel, their fans can travel to their, state, their rival state. So yeah, it does suck. It looks like USC is going to lose, but either way, I still had any of these teams losing in the next round, so it doesn't really hurt. And speaking of brass and buckets, yes, once again, my bracket has been busted on the first game of the year for the March Madness tournament. I believe it was West Virginia losing on a last-second shot or by 1 or 2 points, whatever, to Maryland. So, of course, that was a close game, but whatever. And then, of course, another big upset happened right under that is Virginia losing to Furman, which people had mentioned, but it's just like Virginia had that game. They missed free throws, and then, Furman gets a shot when they're down 1, hit a 3, and then I think it's pretty recently, actually, the last year or two, that Virginia has lost in the same exact fashion. They turn the ball over as they're inbounding it, and then give up a 3 to lose. So it is kind of fun that Virginia does suck as much as they do, because obviously they're a rival to Duke. But did I say that right? Virginia sucks. I think I said that right. Whatever. So yes, it's nice that they're out, but I did have them going at least maybe 2 rounds, so it does hurt the bracket a little bit. But either way, we'll get more in-depth about the Duke win the next video, most likely Monday, and hopefully have another victory to talk about after tomorrow. But we will see. It's an interesting matchup because Tennessee was pretty good. They did lose a player or two that are pretty important to them, and they're kind of limping into this tournament as of right now. So Duke does have a little bit of the advantage, but Kyle Filipowski did look like he was a bit starstruck. Even they said he was throwing up on the sideline after the first couple minutes because he was a bit too nervous and giddy. So we'll see. Hopefully those nerves have calmed down and he'll come out with a great performance. Then when it comes to Juju Smith-Schuster, ex-USC receiver, yes, he recently won the title with the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone kind of assumed he might be back. It was a good situation for him, but looks like he's chasing the money as well as Robert Woods, another ex-USC player, and he's getting his bag. So he's got like a 3-year, $30-something million deal with the New England Patriots, which obviously is a tough place to go to just because of the coach Bill Belichick and what he expects from people and stuff. And yeah, Mac Jones is an okay receiver, but they recently traded away one of their better receivers in Jacoby Myers as well. So it's kind of going to be Juju all the time, which is probably cool for him, but I don't know if he can carry a team like that as the main number 1. So we will see, and good luck to him. At least he got his money. And then when it comes to the 5-star shooting guard or point guard, whatever you want to call him, from Georgia, Isaiah Collier, who is still committed to USC at this point in basketball. He was recently named the Georgia Gatorade Player of the Year in that state, which is pretty cool. I don't know if that counts towards like just football or only basketball or something like that, but it is pretty cool if you win it, and it includes all those sports together and all those players in that state. So whatever it is, it's still a accomplishment either way, so congrats to him on that award. Then when it comes to the Lakers, yes, they played quite a bit ago. I think since we last talked, they played about 3 games. I think I mentioned they lost to the Knicks the other day. Then they played the Pelicans and were able to get this victory, at least 123-108. Anthony Davis went off for 35 points, 17 rebounds. Malik Beasley went off from 3. He had like 7 of them, 24 points total, and a couple assists as well. So it was a nice victory for them, especially against a Western Conference team. So they're either able to stay ahead of them or be able to jump them. But then they sadly had a back-to-back game against the lower team that everybody thought on this 5-game stretch here that they would easily beat, but they ended up losing to Houston, which sucked for their seeding because I think it still kept them away from getting up to 500, which is still very important, especially when they're going into the playoffs seeding. But yes, it was surprising because I think even Anthony Davis sat out that next game against Houston because I think they all just assumed they were going to win, but ended up losing by 4, I think the final score was. And I don't know, if he's still good enough to play, yeah, you are the main guy, but I don't understand why these guys sit out. I know the teams are probably telling them to do it and all this stuff and the analytics, whatever, from the trainers and whatnot, but I still think you gotta go out there, even if you're not playing as many minutes as you would have been, you're still gonna play spot minutes and still help out your team. If he's out there, I'm sure he takes points away from Houston and adds points to the Lakers and they win easily, but I don't know anything. I'm just a fan, right? When it comes to ESPN's 3 most viewed games when it comes to college basketball this last season, apparently Duke was in all 3 of them. I think the first one was one of the matchups against North Carolina. Second was this most recent ACC championship game against Virginia. And then the third game was the other game against North Carolina. So obviously Duke is still a number 1 brand out there when it comes to either people are still good fans of them or the people that want to see them lose and falter and all that crap. So either way, you're still watching and you're still hating. So we can take it. It's all good. Then when it came to the USC versus LSU game in 2024 that is happening in Vegas, they recently did put out the actual start time and the date and everything like that, the actual day as well. I believe it's going to be Sunday, whatever 1st that is. I think it's September 1st, whatever the date is, but it will be Sunday, which is kind of weird. But that early week, they usually like to try to add some games on Sunday before the NFL regular season starts. So they will be in prime time, though, on ABC, like around 4:30 West Coast time, so 7:30 East Coast. So obviously they get the spotlight. It's going to be a big-time game. A lot of great players on each side, especially around that time. I'm pretty sure Caleb Williams will not be the quarterback for USC, so hopefully they'll have their guy by then. But still should have enough talent around him, whoever it is, Malachi Nelson, anybody who's going to be the quarterback at that time. And LSU is getting better. They have a lot better recruits. They had a pretty good season this year as well, so definitely looking forward to that matchup in Vegas in next year's matchup. And a couple more guys that were going to have more visits or brand new offers for USC players. So a 4-star edge in Booker Pickett is going to be visiting recently. I know a bunch of guys, like 30, almost 40 plus guys, are actually visiting this weekend for USC, which is pretty crazy. But a lot of them too aren't offered officially by USC, but they are still visiting, and there are a lot of talented dudes out there. So hopefully they will be getting their scholarship offers as well this weekend. And then a top 2023 actually athlete player. So he can play on both sides of the ball, but he recently got released from his commitment to Notre Dame because I guess he had signed, but for some reason he decided to end up asking the NCAA to let his release go, and they did. So that's awesome that Notre Dame loses out on a guy. I think he's more of a Midwest guy, so he might stay out there anyway, but USC did offer right away, as did a bunch of the other top teams also. So hopefully they have a chance, but he did post on his social media that they offered, so you never know. His name is Brandon Hillman, so hopefully we do get him, but it is obviously great that he decommitted from Notre Dame. Then a top 2024 interior offensive lineman, the top guy, Jordan Seaton, is now visiting USC, I think this weekend as well, or soon, and it's going to be his actually second visit to USC, so that's pretty cool. want to try to get one of the top guys out there, especially interior offensive lineman, will be good. Then a 4-star defensive lineman, Trent Wilson, recently set up a visit as well. 4-star interior offensive lineman, another one, Walt-Claire Flynn Jr., set up a visit. And then 4-star wide receiver from, I think, South Bend, Indiana, Natarian Tuggle, hopefully I'm saying that correct, he set up a visit. Also, one of the talented dudes out there. So, congrats to those guys, and we'll see if they end up getting offers or official visits again. But, yes, looking forward to the future. Then USC baseball did recently play against Cal Poly and beat them like 16? Yeah, 16-3. So, it was pretty much a blowout. Don't know if this is a season series, but I'll check up on them in case they do end up getting a couple more victories. Then ending off with some Chargers news. So yes, they did re-sign one of their tackles, Trey Pipkins, who I've had a pretty much up and down history with, just because even when he got drafted, I'm pretty sure like most Bolts fans, you're like, who the heck is this guy, or what the heck school is that? It's ended up learning that it's like a Division III school, Sioux Falls or something like that. And he's ginormous. He's like 6'6", 6'7", but he was definitely more of a project type of player, and it's definitely been a project because it's been a while since he started actually getting good, because he was so up and down, and mostly down those first like 2 to 3 years, and with injuries as well. And then this last year he was more consistent and more available, and I guess that helped him out get this 3-year deal over $20-something million. And I think it's a little bit pricey, especially for some of the better players that were out there at that position. You might have had to pay a little bit more, but Chargers made up so much more money available anyway, so I don't know why they didn't just do it, because they still haven't done anything really with Drew Tranquill, who still hasn't signed with anybody either. So I'm kind of hoping that means that they're working out something, or maybe the franchise tag as well, even though I think the tag is that money automatically goes on your cap, so you might have to work out some other magic too to get some more available money in certain places, so they might have to wait for that as well. But the fact that he hasn't signed anywhere, I think, is a positive thing for USC. But they did also re-sign one of their defensive linemen, Morgan Fox, who was on a 1-year deal last year, and he played great. He ended up having like 6 sacks, and that's really because he started playing towards the end of the season. He wasn't really playing in the beginning because Tillery, my other favorite Notre Dame ex-Charger, was still there, but luckily they had let him go, and once they did, there was more playing time for Fox, who was used to Brandon Staley's system when they were both with the Rams a few years back, and he blossomed. I mean, the type of pressures he was getting, guys who are getting paid way more than him over, because he's only getting like a 2-year deal. I mean, I'm surprised if it's even over $10 million, but guys are getting paid like 4 years, 40+ million, and they still didn't have pressures or type of stats that he did as well, and he did it in a shorter amount of time also. So I think it's still a really good deal, a nice steal, and definitely glad he's back, because they need him on that defensive line. And then when it comes to Matt Filer, the guard, I did mention that he was a possible candidate to get cut, and they did finally cut him officially. I think that was able to be able to have a bit more money in the cap space to do some of the moves that they did recently. So that saved them about $6 million, but they did designate tender contracts, or whatever they call it, to the kicker Cameron Dicker and the offensive tackle Foster Sorrell. So I think that means that if somebody signs them right now in free agency, they're able to get them, or if that is technically like a mini contract that it's like an invite. I don't know what the tender is, because they still have that other kicker, Dustin Hopkins, on the roster. So I'm pretty sure it's still going to be like a competition going into the summer. But Sorrell, yeah, he's a nice guy to have as a backup in case there are injuries at that tackle position. So I think these are type of contracts, not official ones, but still keeps you around on the team, and hopefully you can earn that contract in the next year or so. And then Nasir Adderley, who was one of the top guys that Chargers drafted about 4 years ago in the 2nd round. He was considered like a 1st-round pick, and it was surprising he even fell that far to the 2nd round, and at the time it was a steal. But his small size didn't really help out, especially playing that safety position. At times, he did get better some years, and he did have a lot of interceptions here and there, but just wasn't too consistent. And pretty sure that's why the Chargers did not pick up his extra year or something like that, or work out an extension. And he was heading into free agency, but apparently he has decided to retire from the NFL. Looks like he might be going back to school. Not 100% sure what that article was saying, but he just feels like he wants to get his mind and body right, correct, and he feels like he can still compete and play, but he doesn't want to do it if it takes away from his mental state and physical ability. So I guess the NFL technically is not the place for you if you want that as a job. So, good luck to him in his future endeavors. Still a young guy at 25, I believe, but yeah, we'll see what happens. And then, yes, the Chargers did officially grant Austin Eckler and his agent permission to go seek out a trade and see what teams are interested in him. I know I had talked about saying that he had requested it, but now it's official that they were able to. In the past couple of days, they haven't really said anything, or any teams that were interested or available have come out or anything like that. And it doesn't really help them that a lot of guys are getting signed in other places as well. There are other running backs, and they're not really get signed for that big of a deals either. So it's kind of hurting his market. He might end up having to come back to the Chargers playing this final year, and maybe if you're still good enough, he could work out an extension, and if not, then most likely we'll move on to free agency next offseason. But we will see. It's going to be pretty interesting. So yeah, next video, be talking about the tournament. It looks like right now USC did make a run, but now it looks like Michigan State is winning 58-49 with about 8 minutes left. So they still technically have a shot, but the shots aren't falling right now, and they're committing too many turnovers because Michigan State is a good defensive team, so they are most likely out. But either way, it was still a good positive season for them either way, and we'll see what happens. Maybe a couple of those guys get drafted as well. Boogie Ellis, Drew Peterson, maybe Joshua Morgan leaves, never know. So yeah, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Fight on.